Hello. Welcome to 78th episode of Bitcoin Hub. Bitcoin Weekly on Bitcoin Hub. Last ek do din mein, there's been a lot of commotion in the markets where you can see there was a flash crash Friday end, Saturdays, early mornings. We'll get into the rest of it, but before that, Bhavik will unfortunately not be able to join us because उनके कुछ personal commitments हैं. But yeah, we'll be covering the regular जो भी इस हफ्ते हुआ है, and we'll mainly talk about the ills of leverage जो हुआ है in the market and which people need to avoid because everyone who has faced this crash परसों वाला, they were affected because they had a lot of exposure in the altcoins and which are otherwise known as shitcoins, and there was a lot of leverage which people used to uh, used for their trades. So yeah, without further ado, we'll just get into the what's happening in the markets. So this has been, can you guys see? Yeah, I'll just keep it this way. Yeah, so अगर आप देखोगे तो October 11th, that was yesterday, early morning or Friday late night, there was a flash crash, and by that I mean there was a series of events which led to this because there was an announcement by Trump which was made on Friday, and वो China को लेकर के था, and we'll get into the exact timeline of events. But this particular crash, although it was a very small one compared in Bitcoin terms, it was only 10%, but apparently it's one of the biggest and sort of bigger than the FTX crash that we saw in 2022. So what happened was this. अगर आप देखोगे तो 9:40 a.m. Eastern time को crypto begins mysteriously selling off, and फिर 10:57 a.m. को ट्रम्प का चाइना टैरिफ वाला थ्रेट आता है. Then someone 4:30 p.m. के आसपास there was a large whale who opened multi-million-dollar short position on Bitcoin and probably other cryptocurrencies as well. I'm not sure about that. But उसके बाद में 4:50 p.m. को exactly 20 मिनट बाद Trump announces 100% tariff on China. तो उसके बाद में you see a drop till almost 108 k तक पहुंच गया था. And if you're talking about perpetual futures market, it had dropped up to 103 k if I'm not wrong. So, and all of this because October 7th 8th ko there was an all-time high. The Bitcoin had reached prices of 125,000, so 126 in fact. So ये सब देखने को मिला within a span of 1 week. Now this indicates to major insider trading because before the announcement there was a short position which was opened. Someone made millions of dollars, and there are a lot of people obviously mad at it, and they've been trying to locate kiska address hai, kisne banaya, because the address which was created was a few minutes before the announcement came in, and they had a heavy short position. So obviously someone knew about what's going on, and we'll get to see. And this has been classified as one of the major flush the market events jahan pe jo bhi overall leveraged tha seen in the space, they have been wiped out, which is for a good reason, by the way, because the less the froth, the better the price increase in a stable manner, rather than just बढ़ता जा रहा है. There's 100x 200x leverage in the system, and then one day eventually you'll know okay, all of it was on paper and there was no spot Bitcoin held by anyone. So that's the thing. अगर आप देखोगे तो it's been a quite hectic few days who were in leverage positions, and they did not hold spot Bitcoin. So what's going to happen next is that apparently from all these analysts जो भी हैं on Twitter, they've been saying a lot of things, but as usual the bull run जो है it will begin now is being touted by Plan C. There's Sina. There's a lot of power law advocates who say this, and yeah, so almost $19 billion worth of uh, you know Bitcoin and crypto related delever hua tha, and that much value was lost in a span of 24 hours. And then eventually there will be, वापस लोग आएंगे, they will take up levered positions, but that will be gradual. Now all of this reset is also happening because there are institutions involved and they can stomach the volatility. They are in it for the long term, and they do not panic sell like retail does, or they do not have excessive leverage like retail does. Even if they do have leverage, they know how to manage and how, when to enter and when to exit, because it's all calculated by the people who are using sophisticated analytical tools, and they know what they're doing. Normal retail people like you and I will not be able to do this ever. तो या, सिन्हा का ये भी कहना है कि I mean he is a advocate for power law, and if you look at it, there's a band and there's a range. Power law is not a strict law of sorts. अगर आप देखोगे, power law has it gives you an idea of the range in which Bitcoin का price can oscillate. It could be extreme greed जहाँ पे it'll reach above the trend line on the top side, or it can be extreme fear where it crosses and shoots down below and probably flips back in a few days. So it's been there, and now it's trending on the power law line. अगर आप देखोगे तो धीरे धीरे everything is happening. And according to power law, if you look at it, we are stated to hit $1 million per Bitcoin somewhere around 2030. So everything's on track. ऐसे resets तो होते हैं, but the basic learning is that you have spot Bitcoin, you put it in cold storage, and you sit on it. There is nothing else to be done. You don't need to take leverage positions. You don't have to enter the perpetual markets. You don't have to custody your coins with third-party institutions. You don't have to definitely not play options and futures in this market because this is extremely volatile. And options and futures are very, if you don't know what you're doing, you will definitely burn your fingers. And it is not for anyone, in fact, who doesn't have a basic understanding of how things work. And even the experts get it wrong most of the times, and they also have learned by burning their fingers. So sound advice, uh, it could not be classified as a financial advice, but sure, if you are entering, look at it from a long term horizon. 4 साल 5 साल minimum, only spot Bitcoin and only in self custody. And again, like, this is a sound advice again. अगर आप देखोगे, buy spot Bitcoin cold storage में, and then daily recurring Bitcoin buys, which is SIP or DCAs, and then you earn Bitcoin on fiat transactions. There is a service in India which allows you to do this, and they have been pretty active since 2021, I guess. If you look it up, you will easily know मैं किसकी बात कर रहा हूँ. तो उसके, yeah, so that's another way to passively earn Bitcoin. And then obviously you have the dips like the one on Friday and Saturday, जिसकी वजह से you can stack cheap sats.
We are toxic maximalists. We man blocks and we will flip your bits.
Sorry about that. That was a pause. But yeah, moving on to the other news from India. India में भी there was a recent chatter saying that Indian government does not encourage cryptocurrencies without sovereign or asset backing. India is stated to introduce RBI-backed digital currency, which will be traceable, and it will be similar to US stable coins to replace the normal currency. ये कहना है Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal का, who was attending Qatar में. There was a conference of sorts or a meeting, closed door meeting of sorts, जहाँ पे हुआ था. इसमें इनका साफ बोलना है कि they do not have any particular opinion, or they do not encourage or discourage the use of cryptocurrencies, but they only tax it. So there's been a lot of chatter about this, how is it being formulated, कि अगर आप, you're not encouraging or discouraging this, how will it be why are we taxing it, and why is it being classified as, a sin, almost a sin tax ke barabar hai, almost 35%. Now, having said that, we don't know how the shape of this will look. There was a global financial meetup, I guess, 2-3 दिन पहले, जहाँ पे there were a lot of there was Guy Starmer, and PM Modi भी थे उसमें, and there were a lot of finance experts in that symposium, जो which was held, I think, in Gurgaon. So that also mentioned, वहाँ पे strict guidelines दिए थे कि nobody will talk about cryptocurrencies or anything of the stable coins also, for that matter. So there's a lot to be done in this field, and a lot of people will eventually find out what is happening with stable coins, what's happening with digital currency scenes. There's a lot of positive sentiment in terms of the state-backed currencies, but every other currency or every other asset, crypto asset, will be shunned upon, and ये हमें और देखने को मिलेगा धीरे धीरे. So that's the latest development. अगर आप देखोगे, Akshat Srivastava, who has been extremely vocal about you know taxation in India and Bitcoin crypto, इसके बारे में उनके strong opinions भी हैं. तो इनका कहना है कि इंडियन गवर्नमेंट वाज दे ट्राई टू बैन बिटकॉइन एंड क्रिप्टो स्पेस इन 2022, a de facto ban rather. It wasn't a strict ban. The price was 33 lakh per Bitcoin then. Now after 3 years, price is more than 1 crore per Bitcoin. Retail investors across Singapore, US, Canada, Portugal, UAE can easily buy Bitcoin. But by the time retail guys have a legit way of buying BTC in India, it would be more than 10 crores per coin. People are wasting time putting 8% in EPF and PPF, which are nothing but provident funds, pension funds, sorry, and thinking it will help them retire. And yeah, good luck with that. So, inka कहना है कि understand what the debasement of currency means and how it is bankrupting you. So he is on point, and he was quote tweeting again. Kashif Raza का the same post जो हमने देखा था, like the last few minutes. So, having said this, it is essential to learn about what Bitcoin is, and there are a lot of communities in India who are actively trying to teach people on the importance of what Bitcoin is, and the necessary shenanigans ke kaise custody hota hai, what are the safe way to do about this. Nobody is trying to sell you. Nobody ka nahi keh sakta. These particular initiatives are not trying to sell you stuff. They just want you to learn on what Bitcoin is, why is it beneficial, and how आगे की generations will prosper, and they'll be benefiting from learning and adopting Bitcoin in their lives. One such initiative is Rikto Xongoti. इन्होंने अभी recently that's ये October 11th का post है, which is 9:45 p.m. So I'm assuming it was held on October 11th. So this was, I'll just translate it because I don't read Assamese. IIT Guwahati में हुआ था, organized Bitcoin awareness meeting. The meeting was attended by a speaker from the MT Unity. Not sure what that is. Anurag Saikia, he is the person who is leading the talk. When bola tha, he explained what Bitcoin is, what the basics of Bitcoin and mining ke related bhi. And Rikto Xongoti has recently started manufacturing their own bit axes on a small scale nonetheless, but sure, it is much beneficial to help people understand what Bitcoin mining is and what is the need for it. So yeah, as you can see, a lot of people were in the conference. They learned a lot of stuff, I'm assuming and hoping for it. Yeah, the lecture was covering various aspects of Bitcoin. The event also shows locally connected BitX Bitcoin mine. So yeah, I say initiatives, and then there's another conference, a summit rather, which is coming up on November 1st. It starts from October 29th. It's called BitPlebs. It's happening in Goa. It's organized by Bitshala and Plebs Together Strong. So whoever is interested and are in the Bitcoin space, you should definitely go and check it out. It's almost a week-long, a 10-day affair, and it will have a lot of speakers who are very vocal about Bitcoin, and they have been in the space for a long time, and they will be talking about specific things. It'll be a fun place because I've met the people of you know, Plebs Together Strong and Bitshala as well. They're the ones who are truly educating people in India, and yeah, will it'll be a fun event. So whoever wants to check it out can please do so. Having said that, India se chalte we move on to Europe. This week there was another conversation. Christine Lagarde, who is the president of ECB, European Central Bank, who also happens to be a convicted felon, and she is the current head of ECB. उन्होंने फिर से अपना स्टांस रिपीट किया 2022 के बाद कि बिटकॉइन हैज़ नो इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू. हालांकि her own son invests in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and she tends to shy away from it, and she doesn't talk about him a lot because उनके अपने बेटे ने बोला था कि don't talk about me on in public forums. So that's pretty much it. She kept on repeating that Bitcoin has no underlying, there is no asset value, there is nothing backing it. But then the same arguments can be made about gold as well. And gold के बारे में भी, gold का अगर आप चार्ट देखोगे, which we'll cover in the later forums, there was a report by Deutsche Bank where they compare Bitcoin and gold, and this is from a bank itself, and they are directly correlating both of the patterns and कितनी similarities and कितने differences हैं इन दोनों के बीच. It's a comprehensive report. For those who haven't read it, I will share the link here and you can probably check it out. It is extremely important for anyone, any financial advisor, to actually learn about it. But what ends up happening is that financial advisors, they do not want to talk about Bitcoin, and they don't want to address it, and they don't want to talk about it in portfolios or recommending it to people, because if Bitcoin comes into action, then there is no purpose of any financial advisor, because अगर आप Bitcoin को adopt करते हो, then its performance is 100 times, not 100 times, a lot more than the other financial products or stocks and stuff, etc. And that's why you don't see financial advisors advocating for it. But now, according to BlackRock and many other banks around the world, they have been vigorously advocating for people to have 3 to 5% allocation in the space. तो धीरे धीरे देखने को मिलेगा, and I mean, you can't say. And so one of the major announcements after this was कि October 9th को Luxembourg, which is one of the European countries, becomes the first European Union sovereign wealth fund to buy Bitcoin with a 1% position via a Bitcoin ETF. So एक तरफ you have the president of ECB telling Bitcoin has no intrinsic value, and दूसरी तरफ you have countries which are based in Europe, which are European countries who are slowly increasing their positions in Bitcoin. It could be 1% now, but धीरे धीरे it will rise up to 3%, 5%, 10%, and so on. But yeah, all of this will happen with time, and देखने को मिलेगा on how things progress. What was funny, which happened this week also, was that US finalized a $20 billion with a B dollar currency swap agreement with Argentina, and उन्होंने Argentina pesos खरीदे अपने country के लिए. So a lot of people have been saying कि before having a US national Bitcoin reserve, or before starting to buy Bitcoin, they actually went ahead and bought a shitcoin, which is the Argentinian peso. So this, I don't know what to make of it, but dhire dhire they are increasing, or I don't know what's the plan behind this, on if they want to have a stake in Argentina, which is obvious. Simon Dixon ka jo video tha, the last two videos, and if you follow his Twitter feed, his main motto is follow the money. And agar aap dekhoge, the whole proof of weapons network is slowly moving from Middle East to Latin America and parts of Africa. So it makes sense if you look at it from a very broad perspective. Okay, धीरे धीरे all of जो भी the manufactured wars वगैरह हैं, it will come to South America. Now this is one aspect of it, is what I'm assuming, कि they are already investing in a country that they would want to have their presence in. And no better way to do it in Argentina, jiske, who has been the leadership of the country, which has been very vocal about you know getting a foreign country like US into meddling with its own policies and जो भी है. मिले के बारे में there's been a lot of criticism of late because he started out as a proper libertarian, and now if you look at his policies, he is doing the exact opposite. So you can check out Saif Dean's criticism about him as well. So yeah, धीरे धीरे देखते हैं कि how things go. But having said that, we cannot discount the fact that US is on a buying spree, and धीरे धीरे they will start buying Bitcoin also in some form of the other. It could be ETFs, it could be buying a certain stake in MicroStrategy, or I don't know, they already have a mining operation like the Trump family does. It's called American BTC. So we'll figure out in the next few months, and that's why October to December is very vital on how things progress. Abhi to anyways, there's the US shutdown which has happened, and just there have been a lot of job losses, and we'll see how it goes in the next few weeks on how things progress. Moving on, this is this is the Deutsche Bank report which I was talking about, in which they conclude. इसके बारे में आप पीछे देख सकते हैं. I'll just scroll through it later. But the ultimate conclusion is that Bitcoin and gold may both feature on central bank balance sheets by 2030. Below are the 5 key reasons why. They're both complementary diversifiers. Both act as a safe haven asset with low correlation with other asset class. They have scarce supply and value as hedges against inflation and geopolitical volatility. Having said this, कल या परसों का flash crash should not be treated as an example. That's a very small blip in the large scheme of things. By the first point, what they mean is over a long duration. Everything needs to be factored in the long duration. Gold, thankfully, has its 5,000-year-old history. That's why it does not need any, proof or validation. Bitcoin, since 16, 17 years, that's why a lot of people are skeptical about it for obvious reasons. It's fine. They are not well read or well informed about this. But if you follow, the properties of both Bitcoin and gold, it's very similar. And again, the second point being Bitcoin's volatility is fading. I'm not getting into the numbers, but अगर आप देखोगे तो जो भी crashes होते थे, the same crash which happened day before yesterday, it would have been a 70%, 80% drawdown in the past, but now it's like 10% drawdown, 20 maximum, 20%. But yeah, the equity holders who are looking for stability and stuff, उनके लिए even the 10%, 20% drawdown is a lot to digest. So that's why a lot of people are skeptical about it. The US dollar will endure. Neither Bitcoin nor gold will entirely replace the US dollar. Digital assets should remain complementary to national currencies. ये इनका मानना है Deutsche Bank का. But again, nothing is set in stone. If US dollar goes through hyper inflationary period, जैसे we've seen a lot of currencies go bust in the past who were a leading currency back during their time. And if that happens, then there's nothing to say that gold or Bitcoin could replace the US dollar. I'm not fully in agreement with the third point, but sure, they are a bank and they have to talk about it. This time it's not different. Like gold, Bitcoin has faced skepticism and speculation, yet both evolved from doubt to mainstream acceptance. Bitcoin and other alternative assets will continue to compete for our attention. US-led adoption can facilitate a longer-term transition for Bitcoin to evolve from speculative investment into a legitimized key component of global finance. Yeah. So this is a 19-page report, which is very extensive and साफ बताया है कि what would make Bitcoin a reserve asset, Bitcoin की properties, Bitcoin का जो भी current regulations है, overview of that. Company holdings of Bitcoin, as you can see, Strategy has the highest, that's almost more than 3%. and the next one is Marathon, which 0.25, and Metaplanet is at 0.15% of the entire Bitcoin supply. Now, again, gold का comparison कैसे start हुआ था? Why? How is there? I mean, if you compare the volatility, Bitcoin versus gold का 30-day volatility. Gold का अगर आप देखोगे तो it was like purely flat when we were on a gold standard, but after when the tether was cut from US dollar, then we see extreme volatility happen, and even so, because gold increases 2% on an annual basis, uska supply increases. That's why you see this chota band where there's a lot of fluctuations, and by chota band I mean over this period of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. But then depending, if you see the light blue line, that's Bitcoin. So initially there was a surge, and now the volatility will reduce over time. And when you have a lot of players and a lot of money coming in, so the price required to fluctuate Bitcoin ka price, I mean the capital required to fluctuate Bitcoin ka price will obviously be more, and that will come through institutions and corporations and a lot of businesses accepting Bitcoin. अगेन गोल्ड का इसमें बताया है कि गोल्ड स्टैंडर्ड एरा कब था, फिर एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर आया, गोल्ड रिजर्व एक्ट, देन जीएफसी, यूरो जोन, लिबरेशन डे. There's a lot of you can see if you zoom out and if you pan out through the ages 1920 से लेके 2025 तक या 2022 तक, you can see the horizon in which gold has actually been, it's coming back to life because of the geopolitical uncertainties across the world. And here you have a direct comparison of gold versus Bitcoin, following the same pattern. And if you're looking at it, gold has already touched all-time highs. The next Bitcoin ki bari hai. It won't take much longer. And yeah, that's the gist of this report. Do give it a read, and naya report hai, and whoever wants to circulate it amongst your financial advisor friends, yeah, जो भी आपके बैंक representatives हैं who ask you to invest in FDs or get loans and stuff, share this PDF with them and ask them, question them कि क्या है, what is this, why are people doing this? अगर Deutsche Bank बोल रहा है, then why aren't you providing it? I'm sure they will have their own reasons, and you can at least start a conversation, start a dialogue. And if they're not aware, they will be aware. That's the first step. You ask them questions. Uske baad mein, if they don't have answers, they don't have answers. It's okay. And if they cannot provide you with that particular service, it's fine. But once the conversation starts going, you cannot put it back in a box. You will talk about it and you will compare it. There will be comparisons with Bitcoin, gold, other equities, वगैरह वगैरह. So yeah, the conversation is important, and that's what is the key. The last few topics, अगर आप देखोगे, Bitcoin has always been divided by a lot of people saying that it's only good for store of value. It doesn't have any, it cannot be treated as money. Sure, there are a lot of agreements for this, but there are a lot of advancements which are happening in parts of the world which we are not aware of, and one of them seems to be South Africa. South Africa, I mean, there's a service called Money Badger, and they're a tool. They are a third-party application, I guess, and they have enabled 650,000, more than 650,000 merchants, 6,50,000 से ज़्यादा merchants across South Africa to have the ability to accept Bitcoin. This is almost similar to what Tando did in Kenya. Tando say you can pay your utility bills, you can pay for your groceries, वगैरह वगैरह, and pay to any other person in Kenyan shillings. Same thing in South Africa is being enabled by Money Badger. So what happens is basically you scan the QR code. You will not be directly in touch with the Bitcoin network. Sometimes you wouldn't have to know what Bitcoin is. Probably a Bitcoiner can send money to the other person. The other person will receive in Kenyan shillings. I'm talking about Tando here. So if you are a Bitcoiner, you send them SATS through that application, and you don't have to learn on how to do it and background mein kya hota hai. It's already being taken care of, and the end user, even if they don't know about what Bitcoin is, they will receive in their local currency. The same thing is being enabled by Money Badger Pay, and they're doing this for South Africa. And again, this is not a small feat. There are 650,000 plus merchants, so that's a lot of ground to cover. And this is one of the ways in which it will be adopted as money in a lot of countries which need it. One more thing, having speaking of adoption, is Square. Square is Jack Dorsey ki company, and they have enabled merchants to easily accumulate Bitcoin on their balance sheets. So this happened recently, where Jack Dorsey, who was the creator of Twitter and now which is called X, उन्होंने साफ बोला है कि they want Bitcoin to be used as everyday money, and he's fighting for it, and he's building tools. अगर आप उनका suite देखोगे, Proto is for Bitcoin mining, Bitkey is for custodying Bitcoin. It's a hardware wallet, and Square and Cash App. I mean, Cash App is basically जिससे आप Bitcoin खरीद सकते हो and बेच सकते हो. And now you have Square. Square is your POS terminal, where businesses can accept. It's basically for those who are not aware of what this is. It's similar to Razorpay and other POS terminals which are in India, जहाँ पे आप where you go shopping, probably a shopper stop वगैरह, and जो उनके पास वो POS device होता है, the point of sale device, where you see the QR code. It can be programmable on the back end in terms of how you want to make the divisions, how much you want to keep in treasury, how much you want to keep in rotational operational expenses, वगैरह वगैरह. You can take care of those as a store owner. Same thing is being done by Square in US, and by November I think they will start operations, early November. So what it lets people do, November 10th say, people, I mean, the store owners can accept Bitcoin payments with no fees. This no fees wala thing, I think it's only for 1 year, but still they will this is good for adoption. I mean, to start and trial basis ki kitne log actually use karenge and stuff, to test it out. That's one of the things. Then convert sales revenue into Bitcoin at your own pace. Suppose the store owner wants to have a Bitcoin treasury. Suppose you're a kirana store and आपके पास एक POS device है, and you wish to be a Michael Saylor of your street, or a Simon Gerovich of your street, जैसा भी. So you have your operational expenses, and आपको पता है कि आपको कितना खरीदना है, बेचना है, monthly कितने expenses होंगे आपके. You do that estimate, and वापस जो भी profit आपको बचता है, probably 10%, 20%, you choose to sweep it in Bitcoin. So this is being allowed by this particular service. Buy, sell, hold, withdraw Bitcoin through Square banking tools. So these guys have been working for a while, and almost 2 साल से काम कर रहे हैं, and because of regulations and stuff, they were not able to pull through, and now they are. Now you have a lot of people who have this option of doing this following, like fiat to BTC, fiat to fiat, BTC to fiat, BTC to BTC. So yeah. Now he's also advocating for de minimis tax exemption for everyday Bitcoin transactions. So basically what it says is, with Senator Cynthia Lummis, almost I think $200 to $500 ट्रांजैक्शन वाले, छोटे ट्रांजैक्शन वाले, उस पर टैक्स नहीं लगना चाहिए. दैट्स व्हाट दे आर एडवोकेटिंग फॉर. एंड आई डोंट नो द फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ इट, कि 1 महीने का है. There could be a limit. I'm not aware of the specifics, but yeah, these people are fighting for that. So that was the gist of today's episode. Do let me know what you thought about this. There have been a lot of developments in India the past week, and a lot of developments in the international space as well. Always remember, leverage is a bad thing. Excess leverage is a bad thing. I mean, if you cannot manage, if you don't know the concept of leverage, don't even get to it. All the other things are okay. I mean, once you are studying, once you are aware, then you know what is the difference between Bitcoin and crypto. That's when you will take your own call, I guess, and then you'll figure out, okay, what is the prudent allocation. There are a lot of services and ways in which people can adopt Bitcoin and use Bitcoin in India. Obviously, I am not going to take their names. We are not sponsored by any of those, but sure, it is public knowledge. But if you have any doubts and questions, Bhavik and I are ready to help. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See you guys next week. And अगर आपके कोई भी आपको अच्छा लगा, do you if you feel the content is worthwhile and valuable of your time, and the information shared here is more of a consolidation, which we do, and we like doing this because we like sharing all the developments happening in and around Bitcoin. And as usual, thank you for tuning in, and stay humble and stack sats. आपके comments बताइए on how you liked it or whatever you'd like to include the next time. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
Number one thing you can do is educate the world on Bitcoin and let people know they need to figure out Bitcoin. And every one of you does make a difference, because I would never get those meetings if it wasn't like someone that went and said, you got to pay attention. And my last point to you, you do not sell your Bitcoin. Thank you. Thank you.